This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, good morning everyone. Bruchim Habayim. We're continuing Mishnah Berura, Daf HaShavua, Siman Pei. Yesterday, Siman Pei, Seif Beis. Yesterday we learned, even to think in Divrei Torah is aser in a beis hakisei and in a beis hamerchatz and in a place of dirt, which is a place that has tsoya and meiraglayim. And even the laws of a merchatz, you're not allowed to learn in a merchatz. Okay, let's see Mishnah Berura uba beis hamerchatz. Why? Kina'ah. Mandy, you came the right time. Finally, in Siman Pei Dalet, the Mishnah Berura didn't really say black and white. Why? The bathhouse you're not allowed to learn. Kina'fish zuhama b'soichai. There's a lot of filth. Uma'os. V'havelei kitsayo beis hakisei. It's like tsay in a beis hakisei. So I have to write that down. You know, in Siman Pei Dalet, we were trying to figure out exactly what's the issue with the merchatz. The last words of Siman Pei Dalet in the Mishnah Berura is "Denafesh sham havela v'zuhama," but he never said outright that it's like tsoya. So now we're learning that filth is like a beis hakisei. By the way, this opens up a whole new avenue because I know of other places where you can't put your finger on it, but there's no better way to say it than there's zuhama or havla, and here the Mishnah Berura is saying it's mamish like tzoya. V'tam isra here b'chol elam mekaymis misham debe'inan v'haya machanecha kadosh v'leka. What about to daven in a place where there's avodah zarah? The Mishnah Berura in Siman Tzadi Daled Sivkot Lamed is mashma that it's mutter. By the way, it could be very common. Some hospitals, they have, a cross is not really avodah zarah actually. Cross is not avodah zarah, but they could have icons. Rabbi Vadia has a tshuva that a cross is not avodah zarah. Okay. Weiter. What about going into a beis hakisei, beis hamerchatz, mitoich halacha she'ena psuka? Right, if you're thinking about halacha, then you walk into a bathroom, then the Shari Tshuva says it's mutter, even though for tefillah you can't do it. Okay. Weiter. Kasav beis Yosef, misha talmud shagar b'piv. Someone who is so orangutan in learning. V'hira b'beis hakisei beis hamerchatz la'ansai. Mutter. Someone who can't help it, it's mutter. What does that mean? It's mutter. You're an oinus. Of course it's mutter. You could even you could do any avera b'oinus. What's the Beis Yosef saying? It's mutter. What's the Beis Yosef saying? It's mutter. L'chayra, he's saying that you don't have to distract your mind. You don't have to go out of your way. In other words, if you're not trying to think and learn, you just can't. It's just going on its own. L'chayra, he's saying it's mutter. Let's see weiter. Yeishayimrim. Some say the Prisha, Berura, the Pri Megadim, the Kivin, the Anasu, Berura, Yachal, Filavate, Besfasav. Some say you can even talk and learning. V'chein Mashim, Zanko, Beis, Omed, Beis. Avol B'Sefer, Berke, Yosef, Masik, the Hadibur, Asr, B'chol, Gavnei. You're never allowed to. You're not allowed to talk in any situation about Rabbi Meir, Gemara, Yesh Lidchos, Chumash Kazav Sham Harav Berkas Hazel V'Tzan Kadoshim Ein Sham. U'Masha Kazav Dem Hira LaAnsai Motor. Hainu Ratzon Dem Hira Loi Aved Isura Me'acher Shay LaAnsai. Baram L'Chadchila Choyvas Gavra Lidchos Ahira. It means that you didn't do an Isser, but L'Chadchila you have an obligation to distract yourself. And certainly you're not a talk. Now, there are two things going on over here. Legabe dibur, there are achronim that say it's mutter, namely the Prisha and the Pri Megadim. The Chida rejects that. The Gemara you could push off. But the Chida goes so far as to say that oines means that if you did it and you couldn't distract yourself, then you're pater. But avada, there's a chayves gavra to distract yourself. I would humbly ask, so then what's the Beis Yosef saying? Oines is mutter. What? We know it says if somebody is ma'anis a woman, she's not chayiv misa because she's an oines. We all know there's something called oines. We don't need the Beis Yosef to say the din of oines applies to her in the bathroom. It applies to much worse things. L'chayra, then Hirer would be saying, the Prisha wants to say that oines allows you to talk. The simple words of the Beis Yosef seem to be saying it might not allow you to talk, but oines means you don't have to avoid it. But the Chida says no, you do have to avoid it.
What does it mean that oines allows you to talk? You talk about it by accident? As a hearer, it pops into your head, so it's okay, it's just an oines.
Sometimes when you're thinking of, do you talk to yourself? I want to ask you a personal question. Do you talk to yourself? Sometimes I talk to myself. I do. Sometimes if I'm thinking about something, I'll talk. By the way, look, research it. It's a good thing. But if a person talks to themselves, it's reflective of good thought process. You could read up on that. But do you talk? I want to know. Do you talk to yourself? It's good to answer yes. So make believe you do. Okay? Now, do you do it on purpose? Like, do you try to talk to yourself, or it's sort of more it's spontaneous, although you probably could help it, right? It is spontaneous. There are things a person does spontaneously that they do have control not to do, even though, they're doing it out of spontaneity, although they could stop themselves. So l'chayra, what the Prisha means is, if you're orangutan and you're learning, and you're thinking about it, you could even let it flow. You could let it flow in the bathroom. Nobody, unless you
realize you're no longer an oines.
What?
As soon as you realize what you're doing, you're no longer an oines. So what are you allowed to do here? Is very strange.
You don't have to press the brakes.
Then it's not oines anymore. You've been amazed talking and learning in the bathroom.
I'm not amazed. It's misasek. It's misasek. Could a misasek stop himself? Is there any accountability on a misasek? It's a question whether a misasek needs kapara. Yeah, I think there's what to think about here. Weiter, exactly what is this oines? What level of oines are we talking about? Why can't the person control himself? And according to the Chida, that you have to do everything you can to avoid thinking about it. So what exactly is the Beis Yosef saying? Oines is mutter. Of course oines is mutter. Okay, weiter in the Mechaber. Dvarim shalchol mutter la'amram sham b'lashon HaKodesh. You could talk about the Yankees in Lashon HaKodesh. They used to have a dial-in to get the Yankee scores in Yiddish and the highlights. You call in and they give you how many RBIs this player had. The whole thing was in Yiddish, seriously. So in Lashon HaKodesh, you could talk about secular things in Lashon HaKodesh. The Mishnah Berura says, "Midas chasidus hu lahachmer." It's midas chasidus to be machmer. And I think we saw yesterday that if you speak in Israel, it's not even midas chasidus to be machmer. If you speak Lashon Kodesh, then it's not even midas chasidus to be machmer, unless you say it's talking about if you speak Lashon Kodesh, not if you speak modern Hebrew. Yeah. Where do we have this? Oh. He brings the Afike Maginim, the Makam She'ikar Dibrum Lashon HaKodesh Ein Lahachmer. Fine. Weiter in the Mechaber. Dvarim shel chol muter l'amram sham l'shgaz v'chein hakinuyim k'goin racham ne'aman v'kiyotz v'hem muter l'amram sham. Aval hashemos she'enam nemchakim. The names that can't be erased, asar haskirim sham, you can't say there. V'im nizdamin lam sham lahafresh midavra asar mafresh. If it happens to separate someone from Isser in the bathroom, you could do so, v'afilu b'lashon ha'kodesh, even in Hebrew, uve'inyanei kodesh. We'll see what this means. Says the Mishna Berura, Ne'aman, Haravid Oyster Baracham. The Ravid says Ne'aman's okay, but not Racham, B'chkas Abach, V'yesh Lahachmer, V'chein Pasag Apri Chadash. Miu Belaz L'Kulei Mashari. In a different language it's permitted. Hov V'zeh Inoi Miyucha Davka L'Kadosh Baruch Hu. Since it's not Miyucha Davka to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Masha Ein Kein Shar Devrei Torah. That it doesn't matter what language it's in. V'chol Shekein Hashemois She'enam Nimchakim. Certainly, names that you cannot erase. Also, loymar sham afilu b'lashon laz. Any name, shakai, tzvakais, you can't say there even in a different language. Kagoin got b'lashon Ashkenaz oy boiga b'lashon Poland v'Russia chahagavna. Sha'av sheshem ze'im b'kedusha ba'oisyos ksivasai u'motel machgai. Even though got has no sanctity in its letters, and you're allowed to erase them. Kamakam yeshvay mishum bizayin v'askaras makam tinoifes. It's a bizayin if you mention it in a dirty place. Kagoyin b'haskaras hashalom, like the name Shalom. You're allowed to erase Shalom. Shemuter gam ken lamachgai v'afal pikein kivan shakadosh baruch hu nikra bay afal pi she'eno miyuchad lai. Since Hashem has called it, even though He's not designated by it, you can't mention it if your intent is for peace. And especially that for many things, Got or Hashem's name in other languages has a din of shema, a shame in Lashon Kodesh for other things. Could go in Shvuya, for example, swearing, Ulinyan Haskar Shem Shemaim Levatala, or to say God's name in vain. Right? You're not allowed to say OMG, oh my G-D. You're not allowed to say that. It's usher to say that. It's prohibited to say that. If you want to say oh my gosh, then you sound like a farmer from Nebraska. It has no meaning. Why would you say that? That's even worse. I say that's even worse. It's worse to be a fool than to violate an Isser. This is a well-known Yesod, according to the Balei HaMusar. It's worse to be subhuman than to violate the Torah. Anyway, moving right along. Ulinyan askar shem shamayim levatala, ulinyan kilas chaveroi b'shem. What about to say Baruch Hashem? Are you allowed to say Baruch Hashem in the bathroom? Are you allowed to say Hashem? L'chayra you could. Fine. Muter la'amram. You're allowed to say them. Why? D'gam b'nei adam muchanim b'hem l'fam. K'may shenemar chanun v'rachum v'tzadik. Sometimes people are called by these appellations. V'davka b'omer kach. That's only if you say as a chanun, the compassionate one. Aval b'omer harachum yirachim alecha, the compassionate one. Yesham da'aseh k'may she'el Hashem, because that's a proper reference. Or the Mechaber says Shemoy she'enam nimchakim. The Mishna says it's lav davka enam nimchakim, because shalom you could be moichek. Lav davka da'ika shalom da'asar lahaskar sham v'chanal b'sim peidad lahafrish midvar iser vu'adin im nichnas b'libor hira avera. Let's say you are having improper, immodest thoughts, and the only way to save yourself is by thinking about Mishnah Berura or the Ktsos HaChoshen. Muter lahar sham b'divrei Torah. Mimnei shazel kumay la'afrisha me'yisr sha'atorah matzels me'hurim ra'im. Question: how are you allowed to do that? You're allowed to think about Torah to save yourself from an Aveira? Why? Why are you allowed to do one Aveira to save yourself from a different Aveira? You're allowed to think about learning to save yourself from Herhurim Ra? What? Why are you allowed to do that?
Maybe Herhurim brings more work.
Why? Actually, it's not. For Herhurim Ram, you're not chayiv kares. But if you think about Torah in the bathroom, it's Dvar Hashem Baza. It is. Herhurim, thinking Torah is worse. You ready for this chidush? Elamai, what's the pshat you're not allowed to learn and you're not allowed to say Hashem's name in the bathroom? It's a chayk? It's not a chayk. It's a bezayin to the name of Hashem. It's a bezayin. What if it's not a bezayin? What if I'm doing it because I'm honoring Hashem because I don't want to do an Aveira? Meaning we asked, what's pshat in the Achroinim that lo'imsa you're allowed to think of Hashem's name? What do you mean? You're allowed to do anything but oines. What's the chiddush? I need the Beis Yosef to say lo'imsa. So the chidah goes so far as to say there's a chayvaz gavra not to distract yourself. But many Achronim say no. Well, maybe the pshat is, if it's ba'oines, it's not a bezayon. The pshat is, you're not utilizing heter oines. Because it's an oines, memela it's not a bezayon, memela it's mutter. Oines is oines rachmana patre. You hear, the Beis Yosef didn't say if it's ba'oines you're pater. Everybody knows that. The Beis Yosef says it's mutter. What's the pshat? It's mutter. The pshat is, the isser is based on bizayon. If you're an oines, it's not a bizayon. That's the pshat in those who argue with the chidah. They say, if it's against your will, you don't have to go out of your way to distract yourself. Why? It's not a bizayon. I'm not being mavaza. What do you want from me? It just came into my head. I'm not being mavaza the name of Hashem. Maybe. I mean, this would explain why you're allowed to be mahar b'divrei Torah, to be mafresh you from Isser. Otherwise, how can you do one Isser to save you from another Isser? Okay, think about it. We'll hold it over here, okay?
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.